Rama-Raya
Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 19, The Killing of the Demon Resurrection, verse number 16.
Well, that's what you said.
Nakampata, Anak, Papi, Swaja, Dipa, Tenatam Ahata Shatar, Bhagavan Adi Sukara, Nakampata Manakvapi, Swaja Hata Dipa, Tenatam Ahata Shatar, Bhagavan Adi Sukara, Nakampata Manakvapi, Swaja Hata Dipa, Tenatam Ahata Shatar, Bhagavan Adi Sukara, Nakampata Manakvapi, Swaja Hata Dipa,
Bhagavanadishu Karaha
Nakam Patavan Manakvapi
Nakam Patamanakvapi
Shanja Patariva Kipaha
Sraja Ivadavaha Etam Mahatam Shatar Bhagavan Adi Shukaraha
Bhagavanadishu Karaha
Nakampata Manakvapi
Nakamata Manakvapi
Srajahata Eva Dvaipa
Tenetam atashatir
Edamat Atashater
Bhagavanadi Sukaraha
Bhagavan Adi Shukaraha
Nakampata Manakapi
Nakampata Manakvapi
Swajahata Ivadipaha
Srajahata Eva
Tetam ahatah sakta
Tenetam atashatir
Bhagavan Adi Shukara
Bhagavan Shukaraha
Nakam Pata Manakvapi
Nakampata Manakvapi
Srajahata Iva Dvipa
Srajahata Eva Dvipa
Tena
Tena
Bhairanyaksha
Bhagavanaksha
Itam
Itam
Thus
Ahata
Ahata
Struck
Shata
Shata
Ovidura
Ovidura
Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of God.
Supreme Personality of God.
Adi Sukara,
Adi Sukara,
the firstborn.
Firstborn
Na'akampata,
Nakampata
did not feel quaking.
Did not feel quaking
Manak,
Manak,
even slightly.
even slightly.
Va'api,
Va'api,
anywhere.
anywhere.
Sraja,
Sraja,
by a garland of flowers.
by a garland of
Mata,
Mata,
struck.
struck.
Eva,
Eva,
as.
as.
Vipa,
Vipa,
hit in this manner by the demon, Ovidura, the Lord, who had appeared as the first boar, did not feel the least quaking in any part of his body, any more than an elephant would when struck with a wreath of flowers. Purport, as previously explained, the demon was originally a servitor of the Lord in Vaikuntha, but somehow or other he fell as a demon. His fight with the Supreme Lord was meant for his liberation. The Lord enjoyed the striking on his transcendent body, just like a full grown-up father fighting with his child. Sometimes a father takes pleasure in having a mock fight with his small child, and similarly, the Lord felt Hiranyaksha striking on his body to be like flowers offered for worship. In other words, the Lord desired to fight in order to enjoy his transcendent bliss. Therefore, he enjoyed the attack. Shri Chaitanya Krishnam Sapitam Vande Shri Guru Shri Dabaram Shri Vishnu Vaishnavam Shri Guru Sapitam Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Prabhupada's visit to Caracas, Venezuela in 1975. He was meeting with the intelligentsia and important people of that country and also other parts of South America like Brazil. And Prabhupada was remarking, you're scientists in the world, very proud of creating a 747 airplane which can hold 500 passengers and fly for so many hours and defy the law of gravity. This is after he got the person he was speaking with to agree by infallible logic of the Vedas and of the disciple succession that the possessor of power or potency must have personality and intelligence. So, how many planets are there in the universe? And they're all floating in midair, defying the law of gravity. Who is doing that? Whose potency is keeping all of these huge planets that weigh so much? I don't know, on your high on 2 weeks ago on Fifth Avenue, did you pass 51st Street where the Atlas is holding up the earth? Prabhupada even remarks in one place, such a strong God is holding up the whole earth. This is just imagination, actually. But Krishna, God is so great. This is just one of his unlimited, inconceivable opulences. Asamurva, no one equal to, one without a second, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So devotee things, Krishna's offer, ultimate demand, Sarvadharma Purichaja Mamikam Sharanam Maya, just surrender unto me, and I will indemnify you, I will save you from all the reactions of your sinful life. Masuja, do not worry, do not be afraid anymore. Prabhupada says that intelligent person takes this offer of the Lord very, very seriously. We see in taking to the process of rectification, which is also known as sadhana bhakti, to try to rectify our conditional life, that on one level it's very easy. Simply chant, dance, and take prasad, and when you're tired, take rest, and then repeat the process again. But to actually get free from all the anarthas, the unwanted things that we acquired over a long, long stay in this material world, it's not very easy. Prabhupada even said, when the first phenomena of devotees leave ISKCON slang looping, the devotees were just amazed. How could they leave? And Prabhupada said, don't be surprised who leaves, be surprised who stays. Because ultimately the purification becomes finer and finer and finer. There's a lengthy description in the second canto yogi, the bhakti yogi, Prabhupada made the book, and there used to be an amazing picture of a bhakti yogi. He didn't have a curtain on, but he had a dhoti, and he was shaken, and the Sika was like surpassing the Apollo moon launch. And Radha and Krishna, the whirl of the lotus flower of Vrindavan are beckoning and welcoming him to just kind of slide into home base there, nice and easy. Prabhupada says the pure devotee takes an easy journey to other planets, ultimately to the Lord's planet, the topmost planet. Prabhupada says in the purport of the Bhagavad Gita, he only has interest in the planet of Krishna and nothing else. And in the second canto, it's described that the devotee, upon his ascension, he sees all the other realms, but he has no attraction to get off, just like if you're traveling to a destination and you pass through other train stations. We're not going to get off the train. We're going to go to our destination. So, the conditioning in an artist is very, very strong, and they're a remnant of our non-devotional life in many, many other realms and lifetimes, bodies. And the conditioning is very, very strong. So, we are admonished and cautioned to be on guard against various forms of mixed devotional service. That if we're not completely honest with ourselves and with each other, we will erroneously or not in the correct motivational way perceive or even condone such mixtures of devotional service to be the same as actual pure devotional service. And if we're not careful in the beginning, it's described that the devotee should be like a gardener. And a gardener is very vigilant to make sure that weeds don't, what to speak of, sprout up and grow alongside the desired plant that you want to grow to make the fruit and the flower. Grow up alongside and ultimately take all the water and nourishment that's meant for the real desired creeper and plant, take it for itself, choke the actual creeper and kill it. So instead of growing the desired beautiful fruit and flower, you're simply growing a weed or something poisonous. This can become individual or it can even become collective. That was the unfortunate situation that Bhaktivinoda Thakur found himself in the mid-19th century, where different deviant Vaishnava sects, so-called Vaishnava sects, had so much deviated the actual Sampradaya of Lord Chaitanya that good people, normal, pious, intelligent people would want nothing to do with Lord Chaitanya's movement. As soon as just said, oh, he's a Gaudiya Vaishnava, and I don't want anything to do with these people. They're just sex mongers and just debauchees and drug takers and just the lowest class of people. That's how bad it got. So that's a lesson that we should always be vigilant to maintain individually and collectively adherence to the actual strict path that is chalked out by the predecessor acharyas. We see Srila Prabhupada himself was perhaps the greatest example this planet and universe has ever seen about expanding Krishna consciousness in so many different ways, Yukta Vairagya. The subsequent devotees of Lord Chaitanya were very expert at this, and they discovered various novel ways of inject Krishna consciousness for the benefit of the souls of this world. Shuktakirti asked Srila Prabhupada, what is the difference between innovation and deviation? And Prabhupada, thinking for some time, he said, that takes some intelligence. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are surrendered unto me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss in enlightening one another and conversing about me. Prabhupada writes in that purport that devotees, they exchange their realizations just like very fired up and enthusiastic scientists in scientific academies compare their scientific findings to advance the cause of knowledge and science and realization. So within that process there can be give and take and experiment. Prabhupada, even on the incorporation day of ISKCON, on hot muggy day in July, on the floor of 26th Avenue, there were even tables and chairs to sign the incorporation document. Can you sign this paper on the floor? You know, Raphael and Don were just kind of like homeless drifters. Prabhupada said, we've been furthered the society of devotees by incorporating this ISKCON. This is an. But if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. Prabhupada was fiercely criticized by his godbrothers for leaving the quote-unquote official Gaudiya Math institution. For example, Prabhupada approached Bhaktivilas Tirtha Maharaj, formerly Kunja Bihari, who was the quote-unquote leading manager on behalf of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And in 1959, some 23 years after Srila Bhaktisiddhanta departed, and 20 good years of, or even longer, of court battles and fighting and just complete confusion, he still represented legally the Gaudiya Math institution, and he was the possessor of the prized possession, Sri Chaitanya Math, the headquarters in Mayapur, where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta has his house and made replica of Radhakund, Shamakund, Govardhan Hill. So he approached Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada, his proposal to take sannyas from him under the official recognized institution of his spiritual master, Gaudiya Math. And he chastised Srila Prabhupada. The first thing that you must do, which you've neglected to do for so many years, is to realign yourself with the society, namely me. You know, those who are acting or against or independent of the Gaudiya Math are acting illogically. So first thing you have to do is, and then over time we shall see. And Prabhupada's mission was to, if you ever get money, print books. And it was revealed to him that he should translate and the entire Srimad Bhāgavatam, all 18,000 verses, into English with proper purport and commentary. And his godbrother was not at all encouraging, not at all agreeable or favorable. And that harkened back to what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had said in 1935. It is better that he live outside your company. In due course of time, he'll do everything himself. You don't have to recommend him. Satsvarup Maharaj wrote a very nice poem in 1985 in glorification of Radha Damodar. It's a time when he was living there, or he was based there, and he was completing the entire 6th volume of the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. And in many verses glorifying Radha Damodar and Gita Nagari Dham, he said, we join together as community, taking their darshan, but each of us is with them alone. That is their mystic art. So, just like the 6 Goswamis, we have the picture of the 6 Goswamis all standing together, and their cooperative efforts not only maintained and kept firm Lord Chaitanya's movement in a critical period just after Lord Chaitanya and his principal associates' departure, but made the foundation, the literary contribution that will be the basis and foundation for Lord Chaitanya's movement for 10,000 years and more. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nupano. How is that? No, the English. I'm married to the 6 Goswamis. How is it? What is the translation of that second verse? Just, I'm drawing a blank. Quick. Anyway, the point is that they wrote the Shastras, they laid down the books. Scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of what? To become famous authors? Actually, Pradyumna, in his Prabhupada memories, he was remarking that, you see that I think in Nectar Devotion, Rupa Goswami says, I'm offering this as a gift. This is an offering to Sanatana Goswami. So the idea, he had no idea, he had no motivation, I'm going to publish this and become a famous author. He was just writing this for the pleasure of his senior godbrother. And Prabhupada says, the pure devotee writes for the pleasure of the Lord, whether it's published or not. But still, Lord Chaitanya, when instructing Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, I have given an indication, you can elaborate on this more, which means you should present the Bhakti Shastras. Eternal religion. And for what? For my own personal name and fame, for the benefit of all human beings, all living entities within the entire universe. That is real fame. Thus, they're glorified all over the 3 worlds, and they're unworthy because they're worthy of taking shelter of, because they're absorbed in the mood of the gopis. Mood of the gopis? Well, they're the amorous lovers of Krishna, and we read these books, and they're like all kinds of like romantic intrigues and back and forths. And how can you ever possibly come to understand that the amorous pastimes of Radha and Krishna and the activities of their servants, the Saki Manjaris, the Gopi Manjaris, are on the highest level of compassion for all fallen souls within this material universe? When will I shall be very much eager to study the books and serve the books of the 6 Goswamis? Only then will I be able to understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, and only then will my spiritual life become successful. So the Lord is very, very great, and all of his actions and interactions and affairs and plans and desires are simply wonderful. So the devotee takes very seriously this offer of the Lord. The Lord is so great. What is self-realization? Can I become initiated? Some Haight-Ashbury hippie just stood up. Mukunda Maharaj, he writes in his book, Miracle at 26 Second Avenue, how Prabhupada, he had the idea, I'm going to go to India and I'm going to, it was before the time even where, and Prabhupada says, you go here, you do that. I'm just going to do this. And Prabhupada wasn't even like telling people what to do. And just as he was leaving, Prabhupada said, if you can open a temple on the West Coast, that would be very, very nice service. So their friends, later to become, of course, the glorious Shamasundar and Malati, were living in a forest fire lookout tower over the mountains in Oregon, and they thought, they had grew up together as children, they had went to school together, and they wanted to, fly to India via the West Coast, but before that they wanted to go tell their friends about the Swami that they've met. And Mukunda Maharaj reveals that they became so fired up about the suggestion opening up a temple in San Francisco, and Shamasundar in particular, along with Malti, they were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. They knew all the local luminaries and the whole scene down there. They knew all the different bands, when they heard that Allen Ginsberg in New York, it took place, and that sealed the deal, They were friends with the Grateful Dead. In the land of the dark, the ship of the sun is driven by the Grateful Dead, So Mukunda, and their whole thing was like, anyway, in a word, Mukunda Maharaj, their philosophy and lifestyle was too radical for me. But because my friends were so much into it, I gave up the idea of going to India and let's go start the temple in Haight-Ashbury. So anyway, can I become initiated? Yes, but first you have to answer these questions. Who is God? Who is Krishna? Krishna is God. Right answer. Who are you? I am the servant of God. Then you can be initiated tomorrow. God is great. I am very small. So even Arjuna, upon seeing the universal form, he says, he's like afraid, what is your mission? I've come here to destroy all these soldiers. Time I am, kalos me. But ultimately, because of Arjuna's affectionate relationship with Krishna, the universal form, Krishna, again, he showed him how he's Narayan, and then the two-handed form of Krishna, he's completely pacified. So, whatever Krishna does, whatever Krishna wants, the devotee has full faith that it is for my topmost supreme benefit. It's mentioned here, like the father wants to have a mock fight with his son and enjoys it. Prabhupada also describes that the father wants to see his son in even a more advantageous and glorified position than himself. That is the natural psychology of the parents, isn't it? Or at least it should be. That they want they want more for their children, more opportunity, more facility than even they had. This is natural. So that original mentality comes from Krishna. So the devotee has nothing to fear, nothing to want, nothing to aspire or lament about. He simply serves Krishna as Krishna wants, and his life is a complete success. Hare Krishna. Hit in this manner by the demon Ovidura, the Lord who had appeared as the first boar did not feel the least quaking in any part of his body, any more than an elephant would when struck with a wreath of flowers. Any questions or comments?
Thanks for the class. There was a point you had mentioned about devotees should share their realizations with each other. And I was wondering, how do you...
But it says they do, not that they should.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, how do you tell the difference between a genuine realization and some very convincing mental speculation?
Guru, sadhu, and shastra. Is it check up and is it in line? Prabhupada says that one should be ready to immediately refer to Shastra to back up whatever it is one is saying. Not good enough?
Yeah, pretty much if you know the philosophy, then you know then you have some basis for it. If you don't, then you just have to read more, and then you can figure out whether whatever you have learned
Also, realization in practice is better than realization in theory. We want to be frontline doers and workers, not armchair philosophers. So the realization of someone who's actually putting out is more valuable and authentic than someone who's not.
Should we look forward to challenges to see how realized we are then?
Why not?
I like that.
Wherever there is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Arjuna, the Supreme Archer, there will certainly be morality, victory, opulence. That is the final conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is never defeated. His devotees are never defeated. Anything else? It's just good sport. It's like enjoyable.
Thank you for the nice class. You mentioned something about difference between deviation and innovation. Could you say a little bit more about this?
Say what?
Could you say a little bit more about this? How can we really distinguish these things? Because we know, like even now, so many different things going on. How do we know whether it's bona fide or not?
Experience helps. Seeing various situations and scenarios over the years, that helps. So when you see something, say, oh, I've seen this before. Let's see where this one goes. Also, we have to, there's a bedrock foundational understanding that Prabhupada writes a very triumphant purport in the second canto. I forget the verse right now. It's like 10 pages long, maybe even longer. And he's just how devotional service is always the right thing according to time, place, and circumstance in any country, with any candidate, in any climatic situation. So that's there, but applying it might be different according to time, place, circumstance. Yet at the same time, the devotee is always very vigilant and careful, just like a gardener. Okay, the plant grew up out of the ground and it's growing very nicely. You always have to be vigilant that not only weeds, but poachers, thieves, animals. If you're growing a very valuable crop, then thieves might want to come and take, or hungry animals. Lord Chaitanya's teaching to Rupa Goswami about the intricacies of the Bhakti Lata Bij and its growing ultimately as a creeper and ultimately takes its complete and infallible rest at the lotus feet of Krishna and Goloka Vrindavan is very elucidating and invaluable wisdom in that in regard to this question. We shouldn't be stubborn to stick to something when it shows that the results are things in the mode of passion seem in the beginning to be very nice, but over time it's revealed that there's something that's off color. So we shouldn't be so stubborn and proud that we have to stick to it, especially if I established this, I did this, for it to, in many cases, you should revert back to the very standard and simple application of Krishna consciousness. Strict adherence to the basics, you can never go wrong. And there's all different kinds of people with varying desires and destinies, yet representing the pure devotion being given by Lord Chaitanya, it's our responsibility to maintain the strict path. Devotees can only encourage bhakti yogi. Prabhupada says, we cannot encourage the karmis and jnanis and yogis, make them happy. They'll always find fault. They'll always, pick at us in some way or another because they want their karma and their jnana and their yoga. So we don't have to make those people happy. We are maintaining the standard of pure devotional service to make those who are actually looking for pure devotional service, make them happy, even if by numbers they're the minority compared to the majority who want karma, jnana, and yoga, bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, shakale, ashanta. Ultimately, all those people, they are restless and they'll never be satisfied. Hare Krishna. Any other question?
Hare Krishna, thank you. It's kind of going off of what Divyangi was asking in your response. So it's going off of what Divyangi asked in your response to her. The part where you were saying that our experiences, like the more that we see, it can kind of tell us, more about what we're experiencing. But we also hear that oftentimes we cannot trust our senses and our own experiences.
Ultimately what?
We cannot trust our senses and our experiences. At least this is what I've heard people say.
If you become an experienced devotee, you can. Why not? You're using your senses, you're using your energy, your intelligence, you're giving your life. Why shouldn't your perceptions be valid? That's one of the check and balance, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So sadhu, you become a sadhu, you live like a sadhu, and then your opinion matters. You live like a devotee, then you will be given the intelligence how to those who are constantly devoted, I give them the intelligence how to come to me. How to come to Krishna includes everything else. If you become conscious of me, you will cross over all the obstacles of conditional life by my grace. But if you act not in such consciousness, through false ego, you will be lost. I was lost and then I was found. So, if you're following the proper devotional path, not only are you, for one who has controlled his mind is his best friend. Right? Devotee is meant, we're not living just for our own self, we're not just swimming to keep our own self afloat. You're meant to become the shelter for others. Krishna and the disciplic succession want us to become senior and accomplished devotees as soon as possible. And Prabhupada would send out his devotees, they were barely out of their teens, their early 20s, opening up temples. Mukunda Maharaj was 24 years old when they opened a temple in San Francisco, and he was the oldest. Malati was 21 years old. Krishna consciousness is so, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told Prabhupada right away, is so exclusively important, so urgent that it can't wait. And Prabhupada took risk empowering young people to take very high exalted responsibilities, and he knew that some wouldn't make it, but he had to do it to spread Krishna consciousness. So we don't want to be too overly cautious. We don't want to be whimsical, but we don't want to dam up or slow down the flow of bhakti, which is there for the taking. Anything else? Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. So this is a very fine week in the flow of bhakti in New York City outreach, holiday time. Everybody's in a good mood, so we should take full advantage. The weather is creeping back up out of the Arctic blast. I thought to keep ourselves in Fulton Street, where we're going to be snug as a bug in a rug again. Our usual Tuesday spot here in Brooklyn would be kind of on the chilly side, and because it's holiday time and everybody's in the city, I think the Brooklyn thing would be not as impressive, maybe a little depressive compared to being in the city. So I'm revealing to you my thinking, at least for today. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Hari Bol.